so much of the history of orchestras, I mean, such as there is a history of orchestras, is told from the perspective of just one or two well-known ensembles. Everyone knows that the Vienna Philharmonic is not exactly the world's most egalitarian organisation. If you go on Wikipedia, it will tell you that women were practically unknown in major orchestras until the 1960s. And that's, all I can say is that was not the case in Birmingham. I couldn't say exactly why. I doubt that Appleby Matthews, the orchestra's founder, set out with with an agenda of sexual equality, but I think he was simply looking for the best players he could get in Birmingham. What that means was that from 1920 onwards, from our very first concert, there have always been women in the CBSO. The proportion of women has steadily increased. It's now pretty much 50%, as you would expect, and as it should be. But even in 1944, when the orchestra went full-time, it was nearly a quarter of the players were women at that point, when they went on to full-time contracts. And not just sort of harp players, not just back desk violinists. We had principal players in the oboe sections. Throughout the oboist Ruth Gipps, Mary Chandler in the 1940s, some quite senior violinists. There was always far more female presence within the orchestra than perhaps conventional wisdom would lead you to expect. Partly perhaps because Birmingham was forward-looking, possibly it was just pragmatic. Either way, it's never really been an issue, I think, in Birmingham, and it's been. I don't think every orchestra can say that. And the other startling thing that surprised me as I dug around was that even on the management committee of the orchestra, the board, as early as the early 1920s, 1921, there were female members, very active female members. In fact, by the end of 1921, the committee the board had what they called a ladies' propaganda committee, headed by a former mayoress, Lady Brooks. And the idea was that they would basically use their social networks throughout the city to sell tickets. Always comes back to selling tickets. And they correctly identified that these sort of influential society ladies from Worcestershire, from Warwickshire, from the cream of Birmingham society, had contacts all over the place and could use those to get the orchestra ahead, to get tickets sold, to get support, and to make concerts fashionable. It was quite 4 or 5 ladies on the board in the 1920s. One of them was a soprano called Zara Minadieu, who sounds quite an interesting character. I've been meaning to try and find out more about her. But certainly there are a presence to be reckoned with. No one in Birmingham seems to have found this particularly unusual or worth commenting on. It seems to be just the way things were done. It's a forward-looking city. It's a diverse city. It's never a city that's kind of fussed too much about tradition. In Birmingham, we do what works. And that worked, or so it seems.